Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candido.
We're coming back to you with more American Graffiti from 1979 because you know what? A normal amount is just not enough. You need more in life.
I don't know. Really took that to heart over the years, considering graffiti's everywhere now.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, George, no more graffiti. People don't understand the difference here. I do like how apparently when American Graffiti 1 came out, people are like, why are you calling it graffiti? No one's going to know what that word means.
When we first started, I didn't really understand why it was called American Graffiti, to be honest.
You know, this day and age, I'm still not 100% sure why it's exactly called American. I mean, I get the American part because it's very Americano. But then the graffiti, I think it's because graffiti's changed as time went on. I think now we think of it as being like, oh, it's somebody who can't draw very well and they just wrote their name on the side of the wall,
I'm seeing it's to represent a, quote, scratching or marking of American youth culture in the 60s.
Yeah, okay, there it is there. A scratching. Yeah, it's one of those scratchings there that left an imprint on time.
Okay. Man. Well, I will say this, man. What a starkly different movie.
Well, that's the thing is I only saw More American Graffiti for the first time, like maybe a couple years ago, and it was when I bought that double pack DVD of the first one and the second one because I wanted to watch the first one again, and then I was like, well, hell, there's a second one included in there too. I've never seen that. Let's check that out. And then I remember the first time watching going, wow, this is a real artistic piece of filmmaking here that you don't normally see ever. And it's kind of surprising that it was used in like American Graffiti. And it's kind of odd and kind of strange, but still works, I feel like, and for what's going on, Yeah,
no, for sure. Hey, real quick, I don't know if, just in case you wonder, there's a pretty big storm happening outside my window, so in case you hear a little bit of hail or something.
There's a little tapping on there?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Ain't no worries.
But, no, definitely quite the artistic venture in film, that's for sure. I had to rewind a few times. I had to go back a little bit a few times while watching the movie because of how different this film was made from the original. It really reminded me of like Pulp Fiction. Like it made me feel like maybe Quentin Tarantino like got some of his ideas from this flick, and because it's very much the same way. Like it's all kind of out of order. The story, you got the story that involves John. He's now racing on an actual track, not breaking the law.
He's at Fremont, California. So for us Californians, it's like, hey, there's a location.
Yeah, exactly. He's doing that. And it seems, again, you and I can't escape Vietnam.
No, that's what I thought about too. I was like, is this one like, one story is all Vietnam and it's all about Toad going to Vietnam.
And I kind of enjoyed that a little more than I thought I would.
Because it's different Vietnam. It's not the Vietnam you're normally used to seeing.
No, it's not. And we had what you would imagine every kind of perspective on Vietnam in the last handful of movies we've watched, the Oliver Stone and so on and so forth, some of the other ones too. But this is one that I don't think gets covered very often. I think if I really had to think about it, like Jarhead kind of does it the best, I think, when it comes to how stupid and pointless you feel stuff is when you're enlisted, when you're maybe even as an officer, but when you're overseas, whether you're deployed or just, it doesn't really even matter. Toad, of course, it shows at the end of the movie of American Graffiti that he goes to Vietnam and he's missing in action. And, if the film series would have ended in just that one, it's like a kind of oh dang, poor Toad, killed in battle probably, we'll never know. But in this film, it shows what's really going on with old Toad. And it's hilarious because these are just like, dude, this is stupid. This sucks. He doesn't give a crap. Rightfully so. He's having to clean out the latrines all the time. Nobody likes him except for like one guy. And it's pretty hilarious. It really is. And there's a couple serious parts for Toad in the Vietnam in his story of the film. But overall, it's that story that you never really see. It's not of basically of someone's time and service not being glorious and just being lame and boring and just like shitty, especially for Toad, real shitty.
Yeah.
And
well, and he's just let down by like, it's almost like he went off the war going like, oh man, I'm gonna be a hero and everything like this, you know, kind of like, you know, Tom Cruise's character and you know, Born on the 4th of July. Instead, he gets the one where it's like, well, I thought I was gonna go off be a hero and now I come back and I'm in a wheelchair. This is the other way where Toad goes, I thought I was gonna be a hero and here I am doing crap jobs. Nobody's like incompetent or like no one's competent here, you know, things are going wrong left and right, and I'm just going to try to find whatever way I can to get out of here and get back home.
Yeah. That was freaking hilarious. But yeah, you got that. And then, of course, the married life of
Steve
and
Laurie.
Laurie. And that
Ronnie Howard, which apparently this is Ron Howard's last live-action movie.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, you know, just including, I think, some cameos and so on like that. But, like, the last one he stars in. So it's like American Graffiti is like, I'm done. I started with American Graffiti. I ended with American Graffiti.
Man.
It was a 6-year career.
It's funny, man. The him and Laurie, their section of this movie is not that different from the way that their mechanic was in the original movie either. They really like each other, of course, but then they're clashing, just like in the original. They're clashing again immediately, and it's of course a reason you would expect back then. But now it's so stupid. It seems so silly. He's pissed because she wants to go to work. You know. Yeah.
All of a sudden, too, like, cause it's sort of like out of the blue. It's like, yo, we have this family. We got these 2 kids here and so on like that. Things are going decent. I'm selling insurance in Modesto, you know. And then all of a sudden, you got to have this big old career. Like, you know, what old Ronnie Howard not good enough for you?
Yeah. It's
that Opie money's not cutting it?
And I love how he says, like, you know, it's hard selling insurance. Okay, I'm busting my ass. It's like, sure you are. The man, it's funny too. Like I said, I get it. Back then, you know, the way American culture was, it was like, you know, the wives always stayed home and whatever. But I just can't imagine myself in any era with a girlfriend or wife that's like, I want to work. I want to make money. I'd be like, don't let me stop you. Holy crap, man! Like.
Yeah,
it's so silly to me, but yeah. So that's what they got going on.
Well, I think it's one of those ones that there was a time period where like it made you feel like you weren't a man if you couldn't support your family, kind of thing. Like, oh, what, she's got to go work too? Like that's kind of how it's going to be.
Yeah,
you know. It's ironic because I just listened to a podcast that had a lady on there talking about how that by the women going into the workforce like that during that time period and so on like that actually only took away from the economy. So it's kind of funny how that kind of is, because I saw that there and I was like, oh, there it is, coming in full force. But it's weird because I feel like both of them have points. Like she's kind of got a point, but then Ron Howard kind of does too. Like it's like, whoa, what are we gonna do? Like we're gonna go out and have to buy a nanny or whatnot? Like is that even? It's just we're just gonna literally be lucky if we break even by you going to work.
Yeah. The I guess there's a lot of solutions. There's a lot of pros and cons. I guess pros and cons.
Yeah. And those kids are out of control. I mean, when Ronnie's trying to take care of them, there's like one kid's like standing in the fish tank dancing and whatnot. The other one's like cranking the TV up and so on.
He turns the TV off. The kid's like, ah! You know?
Goes like 10 times louder.
It's hilarious. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, he didn't seem very competent either. Seems like insurance is the only thing he can do.
Yeah, exactly. You know what he's thinking the whole time? He's just like, I should have went with Richard Dreyfuss to college. God damn it! Why did I stay in Modesto?
I know, right? And I guess Richard Dreyfuss was the only one that didn't reprise his role.
Yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing for this sequel. You would expect to be like, oh, there's going to be like 2 or 3 people in it. They get everybody.
The last person I would have expected to reprise their role was Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and he shows up like out of the blue, like where you almost don't even realize it's him until
yeah, that's how it was. It was hilarious. So Debbie, of course, Toad's girlfriend. You know, just like Pulp Fiction, you know, this movie jumps back and forth. The difference between the two movies, though, is Pulp Fiction jumps back and forth between stories that take place, I want to say, within the same like year or something. You know what I mean? same few months, possibly.
Yeah.
All those stories they're told very close within each other, whereas this one takes place from the end of 64 to 1967, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so like I guess to break this down real quickly for these like 4 stories that kind of go, is they all take place on like New Year's, but of a different year. So 164, 65, 66, and 67.
Yeah.
So 64 is the John's drag racing story, is the first one. Then 65, I believe,
Toad, I think,
is Toad's in Vietnam. 66 is Debbie's, and we'll get to that in a second, but that's where she's a hippie in San Francisco. And then 67 is Steve, Ron Howard, and Laurie's character, whatnot, working out there. So they go back and forth. And then the other real interesting thing about it is each one's shot differently. So John's story is shot like in super wide screen, looks really good, looks like almost like a Steve McQueen style movie.
Yeah,
like
that's what I thought too.
So they make it look real nice. They shoot the Vietnam stuff with Toad like in 16 millimeter, so it has that kind of like TV footage kind of look, and it's in full frame and everything like that. Then Debbie's in the San Francisco one is shot in multi-screen, where like literally 2 or 3 images are going on at the same time.
Looks like something you would expect to see for a late 60s, maybe early 70s flick in San Francisco.
Yeah, well, it's got that Woodstock. I don't know if you've ever seen the Woodstock movie before, but the Woodstock movie I could think of as like one of the first ones I ever saw that used that, where like multiple things are going on, but it's all like the continuous story. And then it seems like Ron Howard's one's just like it's weird because it's not as widescreen as John's. It's almost like it's a 16:9, almost a 185, you know. But they use these different formats throughout it, which I think is actually just kind of a cool thing because, once again, you don't see very many movies that do this. I mean, you might see like a section where they have, you know, some found footage or they have a newsreel or something like that. But where all 4 of these stories, and that's almost how you can tell which one's which. Because at first they tell you the year, and then after that they just kind of cut back and forth.
Yeah.
I hope you caught up.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't think I've seen too many movies that are like that do the different stories at different times. Obviously Tarantino, you know, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, this movie. I don't know if Kill Bill's like that. I don't think it is. Not really.
Well, he does go back and forth, but it's mostly everything's...
Yeah, and then one of my favorite films, which I know is a very controversial film for this kind of thing, but Cloud Atlas. I think that film is great.
I like that one. Well, I like all the Wachowski stuff for the most part. You know,
I don't know if I've seen any other movies by those people, but
did you ever see? There was Jupiter Ascending. That was one of those ones
I never
people
saw
kind of
that.
gave flack to, but I thought was actually kind of interesting.
I'll have to check that out.
They
got Harrison Ford in it too, I think, right?
Is he in that one? I didn't think so.
Oh no, not Jupiter Ascending. I was thinking of a different space movie that.
You thinking Blade Runner 2?
No.
Are you thinking of Ender's Game?
Yes.
There you go. Okay.
I don't know why I use those two, but I do.
Yeah. So I'll say nothing ever compares to The Matrix necessarily, but like I still.
Oh, okay. Forgot about the of course.
Yeah, the big elephant in the room movie.
Yeah, no shit.
But I feel like all their other stuff. They did the Speed Racer one, which I always have kind of mixed feelings about that movie, you know, because the characters and all that stuff are kind of cool, but they do it so like goofy and over the top, and it's like and cartoony almost. And the weird thing about it is like, well, if you look at the Speed Racer cartoon show, it's actually kind of pretty grounded for, you know, a cartoon. So it seemed like it was kind of a strange one. It would have been cool just to see it with like real vehicles and stuff like that, you know, shot that way instead. But whatever. I'll still take it for what it is. I mean, at least there is a movie. But
yeah. But yeah, so not a million movies I think that are filmed this way, but I think it's cool. It's something that kind of keeps you on your toes. I mean, I guess if you like one of the stories a little bit more than the other, you know, it kind of cuts back and forth, and you kind of like, okay, you know, I just want to know what happens next with so and so or whatever. I love how John is, you know, he's still racing, he's still doing his thing, and seems like he's pretty successful, except for, you know, the first race that he does in the movie, he loses.
Yeah,
and
he's supposed to be getting the sponsorship and everything like that too.
Yeah, and of course his sponsor shows up and he goes to talk to him, and they're just like, no, we're not going to have you race for us. They offered him some other deal or whatever. And he was like, yes, shove that up your ass. You know, I'm not taking this. And then the, what is it? Some new character comes in. Well, there's a handful of different characters that are kind of new, I guess you could say, but some new girl for John, the love interest for John, which he didn't really have a love interest in the first film.
No, he was looking for love, and then he got a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah, exactly. But she shows back up. She's in the film 2 different times.
Yeah, which I was kind of wondering, is she's 2 different characters in 2 different stories, but I was also kind of wondering, is that the same character? Because they're a couple years apart, so...
Yeah. I didn't stop to think about it.
I kind of thought about it because, whatever, Mackenzie Phillips of Mama and Papa's like the kid.
Yeah.
She plays the girl that she was in American Graffiti for sure. She shows up to John's at some point. But then she plays this other girl named Rainbow in San Francisco in the hippie section. But I kind of wondered, she could have went with Debbie. I mean, they're all from Modesto. You know what I mean? It's not totally out of the question.
See. Candy. Oh, that's Debbie. Carol Rainbow Morrison. So, yeah, I guess it's the same girl. She plays the same character. I guess she just, got into drugs.
Yeah, I want to say in the actual credits, because I know like on Wikipedia it combined that name together, and that's what made me kind of think about it. But in the actual credits, it does say whatever, like Carol and Rainbow. So I'm not too sure, like exactly. But they're not too specific with it, so she could be both of those.
Interesting.
Or I mean, that could be the same characters. What I'm saying from the story.
But I love how this new love interest for John, some girl from Iceland, and the guy's such an idiot. She says Iceland. She's speaking Icelandic, which of course is very similar to Swedish and Norwegian and whatever different. There's a few other countries Sweden, that have their Finland, own kind of dialect.
Denmark.
Yeah, and so she's just talking away, and it's kind of funny. Like he just talks to her like she can understand, even though he knows she can't, and vice versa. And he's kind of being nice enough to her, I guess. But then of course he takes her into the trailer and is trying to get lucky, which she doesn't really like. And
and then he gets angry at it. He's like, "You came in my trailer. Like, what were you expecting? I mean, I thought that was what's going on."
And that was pretty funny. He ends up beating the one guy though, the other racer that he lost to in the beginning. He's kind of an asshole. He tried to make a move on her name's Eva, by the way. Tried to make a move on her, and he didn't like that. Told him to get the hell out of there. And but yeah, he beats him again, or he beats him later on. But then of course his shoot. This is where I thought he was going to die. Because I remember in the first film they had that that ending where it says what happened to everybody, and it says he died in a drunk driving killed by a drunk driver, which I forgot. I just remember him dying.
Yeah.
And his parachute didn't work on his dragster, and then it's all messed up. But
he goes flying off into like a barn or something like that. Breaks through. It destroys the front end of his car.
Yeah. But there was that, and let's see. The I just loved how the dude who Harrison Ford played, that Bob Falfa, whatever, he's still just a dick. This time he's a cop.
And, San Francisco cop of all things.
Kind of hilarious. Debbie, she's in her section of the film, the San Francisco section. She's like, she thinks Toad's dead, which everybody thinks Toad's dead, rightfully so, because it says, he died in the last film, and that's what you'd expect. Mm-hmm. And I wondered how they were going to do that. I wondered how they were going to play that off. And so she's trying to get this other hippie guy to marry her for her whole character arc in the movie. And he's just another hippie scumbag who, doesn't care about anything, doesn't have any money.
Total
she bails
loser.
him out of jail. She's a dancer, a topless dancer, and just it's just pretty wild. I love the scene where her boss is just another freaking loopy. He's about what you'd expect to be running a topless bar.
And Haight-Ashbury of all places in the '60s.
And when she asks for him to front her some money, he opens up a briefcase and shows her a big old python.
Like, yeah, you're gonna be dancing with this, you know. Maybe Salma Hayek's gonna make it work, and 20 years from now.
It's freaking hilarious. But
what I like is that the snake gets out eventually, and their conversation kind of continues, and you're not really paying attention to it, and the snake goes away, and then all of a sudden there's this dude at the bar, and he goes, "Oh shit, there's the snake there!" and just starts blasting away.
Jumps up, shoots it. Like, where the hell did that thing come from? He's like, the guy goes, "That's my snake. That's a rental. You're gonna have to pay for that." Jeez, man, pretty hilarious. And another aspect, of course, like we'd seen in the other actual Vietnam movies, not only do you get Vietnam from Toad's story in this movie, but you also get the protesters in this movie from Steve and Laurie's arc of the movie. So, like we were talking about, they're all pissed off at each other. She wants to work, he doesn't want her to work, and she's like, screw this, and just leaves the house and goes to hang out with her brother, who is an anti-war guy. He's not really a hippie, but he's he's anti-war, and at least he doesn't seem like he's a hippie. But they go to a demonstration, get caught up in it. He burns his draft card, and you just get more protests. But I was really surprised by
college kid.
Well, I was really surprised by the level of brutality they had in some of those scenes. I didn't think it was going to be so rough. Like, by all means, it wasn't Born on the 4th of July or Stinking Heaven and Earth kind of brutal, but
Heaven and Earth.
It was a little more brutal than I thought, which of course gives the film a little more seriousness. You can take it a little more seriously, but that was kind of cool. They covered a lot of ground in this film versus the first film. And I just feel like it's a lot more movie than the first. But
well, it is that one where the first one's just four teenage guys hanging out, sort of tail into high school, right before college, and it's just a day in the life, literally, or a night in the life, I guess you would say. Where this one's more like the continuation, be like, this is kind of how the 60s unfolded for a lot of these different characters here, from like hippie characters to like protest to even like, because I even like during like some of the protest stuff and so on like that, because of course Laurie goes to her brother's house and so on like that, and he's getting ready to do the big protest, and she just wants a place to stay because she's sick and tired of Ron Howard or Steve, and she's hanging out there, and they're kind of trying to work together, like, oh, your sister's kind of here. She's kind of getting in the way. She's cramping her style, man, and she's trying to make herself sound like she's like cooler than she really is, but you could just tell she's just like a handful of years just past that and just like kind of wrong decade. Like she's trying to fit in with like this 60s style, but she's still kind of stuck in a 50s kind of mentality, and she's getting dragged back and forth. And then once Ron Howard has to come, Steve, and sort of look for his wife and everything like that, everybody looks at him like he's just old man, like Republican, so on like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And even he goes.
One guy thinks he's a cop.
Yeah, he goes up the house. He's like, "Hey, I know the Laurie's brother lives next door here. Have you seen them yet?" He's like, "Oh man, you're a narc, dude. Get out of here." And then I love how he just goes like, "Oh," he pulls out an insurance salesman badge, slams the dude up on the wall.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
You got off lucky this time, buddy.
And he's seriously like the least intimidating guy I've ever seen in my life too. Like it's pretty hilarious. It's funny. I was really curious as to whether or not George Lucas even had anything to do with this film because of how different it is. And I saw he's just the executive producer, but
I want to say, I remember because there was a George Lucas like biography or whatever I read a couple of years ago. I want to say he wrote the treatment for this thing. Like he just kind of wrote down the idea and then let that other dude who's the writer and director of this is BWL Norton. Yeah. And that guy, he did one other thing that I want to say stood out. Oh, he wrote the script to Convoy, which was like a trucking movie with Chris Christopherson. Yeah, which is that's a good movie. Sam Peckinpah and everything like that. So he did that script there. But other than that, though, I didn't know too much about his. But so that's pretty much it. George Lucas kind of put it together. He was going to make a sequel to it, but then, once Star Wars came and, Indiana Jones and all that stuff, but at the same time, it's like, George Lucas was kind of a cash cow. It's the late 70s and everything like that. So Universal's like, hey, can we get something out of this, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think he kind of wrote a treatment and then let that guy kind of run with it and then kind of executive produced it. And it's one of those ones where, you know, I guess they're probably hoping for like something like The Return on American Graffiti. Mm-hmm. Strange to this movie, it says its budget was only like $2.5 to $3 million, so it's only just a little bit more expensive than the first movie, but it's got a lot more stuff going on in it.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
You know,
I was looking at IMDb and they're saying like the almost forgotten film More American Graffiti, the sequel to Lucas' masterpiece. Not as bad as critics thought, but nowhere as good as the original. And I was only thinking, like, dude, I like this movie a lot more than the first. But, you know,
well, that's the thing is, like, I always kind of heard that, like, throughout time, it's just like, oh, it's just kind of an okay sequel or something like that. And then when I watched it, I was like, well, I was expecting an okay sequel. And then you sort of get something that's very experimental and kind of interesting. Yeah. And I don't think it does any, like, damage to the characters or anything like that. It's not like they're doing anything weird that you wouldn't expect them to do. I feel like they're all kind of in their place. And you're just seeing it, like... The thing is, though, is I guess probably a lot of people went into this movie and they were just expecting more rock and roll, more hot rods, you know, that kind of stuff. And now you're getting 60s stuff because, you know, it's got a bunch of cool 60s songs thrown in here. It's all strung together, similar with like wall-to-wall music. You still get a bit of the hot rods because you get them with the dragsters in the John story.
And I was going to say, it's almost impossible to make that, like, to have that same movie again with the jump in time. I mean, it's not like nobody's listening to Guns N' Roses today, but Guns N' Roses, it's not what's on the radio every day, everywhere. You know what I mean? Like we're way too far ahead. Obviously, there's a lot less time that's passed with this movie from the second or from the original. You know, it goes from 64 to 67. But I mean, it's the same concept. You know what I mean? The same principle. It's you know, what's really popular today isn't going to be the same even a year from now, and that's another thing. I think they do a really good job. You know, you said it just with the camera work alone. You're looking through the eyes of a different era with each story that's being told.
Yeah, or different style, especially with how each one's kind of put together, you know. And I think that's the whole point of the movie, though, too, is to show that how radically different 62 is to the later day 60s, you know. You look at American Graffiti 1, and it's still in that, like, you know, prime era 50s, you know, but 62. And then here, like, everything switches. The music completely changes. The look completely changes. You know, the Vietnam thing comes in. There's all sorts of protests. There's all kinds of, like, you know, craziness going on. And then each character kind of like, how do they kind of deal with it? And even like John himself always feels sort of like he's like the man out of time. Like if it wasn't for this drag racing, it's almost like there's not a whole lot around the corner for him. He's going to be that guy that if he actually goes into the full 60s and so on like that, he's not going to feel like he fits in, you know? He's going to be like Cliff Booth in like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he kind of like shows up there and he is a kind of a man from the past, you know, and he's trying to kind of like, you know, fit in, but everybody can see him standing out. Yeah.
That's I love that movie, man. That's so good. That's a good one.
I think they're making a Cliff Booth like HBO show.
Yeah.
Which, that's kind of weird because I don't think Tarantino's ever had something like that before. So
TV show?
Yeah, I want to say it's like an HBO show or something like that.
I thought he was gonna be his own movie, but
I wish it was his own movie, but I think it is a mini series of some kind. You know, that's actually one of the few ones I would go out of my way to actually check out because Cliff Booth is such a good character.
I was gonna say anything with Brad Pitt. I don't think I've ever seen Brad Pitt in a role that I didn't even moderately enjoy. You know what I mean?
He's just so good. Well, that and then like the Cliff Booth, the character himself, like in Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood book, it makes his character even more badass. It's like I hope they actually pull some stuff from that. You know?
Yeah. No, I can't imagine it being bad, but time will tell.
Yeah, as I said, it was weird because I've never seen something like that from Tarantino where it's like, oh, he just let somebody else kind of. I bet you he maybe did something, you know, produced it, wrote some stuff or whatever. But yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, like you know, similar like that. You got John here of his hot rodness and so on like that, trying to fit in. But he found because like in the hot rod world, you can kind of stay in where he kind of wants to be. You know, nothing's really changed too much in that time. Oh, it's only 2 years later, realistically, but And in fact, he got out of Modesto, so you know what?
Yeah.
Because, you look in the movie, he kind of, in the first movie, John sort of represented as the coolest guy in town, but now he's starting to get kind of older, and it's like, well, wait a second. Are you still cool kind of thing?
And they portray him as way more of an underdog in this film.
Yeah.
Like he's like the maddest racer and maddest, said something about him being like the maddest, something mad. But basically because he's I don't want to say he's a hothead, but he's a formidable opponent in the drag scene, I guess you would say. But he really seems like an underdog. I don't know if it's just his attitude that makes me think that, and his demeanor, but he gets the job done. That's for sure. The only race he loses is that first one. And then after his wreck,
but the shoot doesn't work.
He smoked the opponent so bad that he respects him now. And he came up to me and said, "Man, like your front end's messed up, but we can just swap your front end with mine and get you back for the next race." Because he was, basically he'd be, if they didn't do that, he'd be disqualified, of course, because he didn't have a car that can run. And the opponent that he would be driving against was the racers for the sponsor that he was trying to get on with, and they want to stick it to him. So his former rival is like, "Yeah, no, we'll fix your car up with mine, parts for mine, and get you back on." And sure enough, that's what they do. And sure enough, he smokes him. And that was pretty cool.
The trophy, it's all the glory and success.
Mm-hmm. And kind of makes amends with Eva somehow, some way, because they still don't know what each other are saying.
Yeah, because for all she knows is because once again he tried to like rape her in the van. Just a foreign person, just doesn't know what's going on.
And he's still this guy that thinks that she's from Eastland, and and lives with Eskimos.
Yeah, and they find this Norwegian guy who, he's like, "Hey, do you speak Swedish or anything like that?" He's like, "No, but I speak Norwegian."
Yeah, it's almost the same thing.
Yeah, and then somehow, some way, he gets to talking to her, because they're all Northern European. Of course, they know. And then that's when they literally find out, like, "Yo, she's been Icelandic this whole time." Like, come on, dude.
I like how John, he doesn't even care. He's like, "Oh, okay, you want to tell her I want to marry her?"
Yeah, exactly. It's just like right away. It's been like 6 hours. Yeah.
But that was their happy ending there.
Happy ending, except for once we get to the end of this movie, it's kind of a very, very not happy. It's like, well, we can't escape that George Lucas ending. So
I was gonna say the ending of this film is hilarious. It's the same exact ending as the original.
But I'm thinking there's that scene, though, where, like, John, once he gets the trophy, the girl says she's going to meet up with him the next day. It seems like everything's going amazing in this dude's life. And then as he takes off down the road in the yellow hot rod from the first movie and so on like that, you see the oncoming truck swerving left and right, the drunk driver. And you don't see the crash or anything like that, but you see him going up and over the hump, and then he goes down, and you can see that other car swerving and so on like that. So I think that's meant to be that's when he dies. Because it says he dies in December, so obviously he has to die before the new year rings in.
Yeah, and he must die on the 31st because Debbie, when she's talking to her boyfriend, the hippie boyfriend in the beginning of the film, she's saying, like, "Yeah, I don't like New Year's. I've had 2 friends die on New Year's." So John, and then she
Toad.
Thinks that Toad died. Thinks that Toad died. Everyone thinks that Toad's dead.
Yeah, but going I guess that sort of wraps up our John story, and then we can kind of go into we're jumping around like the way the movie does when you watch it. So if it seems clustered and confusing, well, this is actually kind of how it plays out, but it still works. But so then you get Toad back to him. We're in the 16 millimeter. We're in Vietnam, and they got all kinds of good shots of like Vietnam helicopters, all kinds of for a maybe $3 billion movie. They got a lot of good stuff going on here.
Yeah, they do.
And there's a scene where he's literally like out in like the jungle standing there, and he's got this M16 strapped up to the tree, and he's got it hooked up with a cord, and he's gonna be like, "Okay, I'm gonna pull this cord, it's gonna snag me in the shoulder, maybe get the arm." He's going back and forth like, what's gonna be the least painful, but what's gonna be enough to get me discharged? And then of course he pulls the string, and the machine gun just like craps out like an M16 normally would do, so it jams up and everything like that. He pulls it off. He starts banging it, trying to get it to go, and all of a sudden it fires off a bunch of rounds, and then the base freaks out. They're like, "Oh, there's Charlie in the bushes there," and everything like that, and they start firing cannons, blasting machine guns. Literally, like helicopters come by. I want to say, like, doesn't it like at some point the jet comes by and drops a bomb off, just blowing the living daylights out of this jungle.
And he's yelling, it's like, it's me, and then it like switches to the Debbie part of the movie, and but later on when they go back to Toad, they show him walking out of the jungle towards their little base, and he's like ripped to shreds. It looks like a cartoon explosion. You know what I mean? Like the fake cigar. He's like walking back, all like, he's waving a white flag, and this guy who's a journalist, for some TV station or whatever. He's like, what's going on here? And one of the Americans is like, oh, it's one of our guys. And
is he a journalist? I thought he was a congressman or something for some reason.
Maybe he was a congressman.
Okay, yeah.
He definitely wasn't military, that's for sure.
No, yeah. He was definitely the guest of honor here.
Yeah, and the commander like hates Toad. And that's why Toad's life sucks in the military, because this guy just hates Toad, wants him out of there. Like, he doesn't want him out of there. He just wants him doing all the worst shit in the world. And he has him clean his personal latrine every day. And it's kind of funny. You actually see this in Jarhead, where cleaning the latrines, they take the shit barrels, and bring it over somewhere, pour diesel in it, and then burn it. And the place I was deployed to didn't do any of that kind of shit. We had normal porta-johns, and there was a shit truck that drove around and sucked it all out. It was disgusting. Yeah. It smelled terrible. It was so bad because it was also like 120 degrees, but it was so gross. And then, of course, where they poured it out was right next to my work tent, like where all of our, like, right next to it. I'm not even kidding. And I'd just be like, dude, this is unreal. Like, why is that here? Why is that here, or why are we here? Like,
yeah, why you
we have
right
to
next
be next to the fucking spot in the ground where they dumped the shit and piss? Like, but that's the way it was. But I can't imagine having to do latrine duty. That is terrible, and that's what Toad's doing. Yeah.
Well, I remember Charlie Sheen's doing it in Platoon. There's a scene where he has to pull it out and light it on fire and everything like that. It's just like I just like at one point that was the way it's like, that's how we're going to take care of this. Just light it on fire.
Yep. And but yeah, so he's doing that constantly, and other stupid crap work, as well as participating in the war itself. I mean, he's a part of a helicopter crew. And good buddies with the other guy, and both of them have the same feelings. They hate it. And then
there's the other dude that's from the first movie too. He's the greaser guy that was taking Richard Dreyfuss around and going to put him in the gang of the Pharaohs. So that dude happens to be all of a sudden, with Toad and his platoon and whatnot. Like, oh, we're both from Modesto and everything like that. Got to stick together. And they both kind of wanted. They don't care. Like the Pharaohs dude he doesn't take orders at all, and I think that's showing that other part of Vietnam too, where like there was kind of like a chaos of like, well, all of a sudden these guys are like doing their own thing and not really listening, and what are we gonna do about it?
Yep. And there's that, and Toad, he just hates this commander, and then there was we get to like, there's not a whole lot of like significant stuff going on otherwise for him in his arc. He just basically is in Vietnam doing his thing, hating his life, and wishing he could get the hell home. And
he does meet
as far as we know.
As I said, there's the other guy. There's the third guy, kind of, that becomes his friend later on.
Yeah, he's a bud. And he's like not like Toad, and he's not like the other guy. However, he's really I guess he hasn't had the experiences that Toad and the other guy have had, and
he's really excited to be in Vietnam. He's the guy.
Yes.
He's like Tom Cruise's character in Born on the 4th of July when he first gets there. Like, he's really proud to be there and do everything like that, but he has no idea what he's really getting into.
Exactly. And he's piloting the helicopter that they're in at one point. Pretty fierce battle going on, and the Pharaoh guy gets shot and killed. Yep. And Toad's like, he's dead. And the pilot, the other guy, he's the pilot, and he he starts freaking out, and Toad ends up just kind of saving the day, more or less, for them. And later on, he comes up to Toad and he's like, man, I was terrified, and you were there with me, and blah, blah, blah. And that was that. And Toad's like,
they're on a rescue pickup mission of like some soldiers out there. That was the thing.
Yeah. Oh man, they did a pretty good job too with that. Where they picked up that dude, the guy who was dying, did a pretty good job in showing his, like him suffering.
Yeah, throwing him on there and getting him all prepped and ready and so on like that. And the pilot, the scene of the pilot, because it's like now he's seeing all the real stuff kind of going on, and the Toad's like, hey, it's just another Tuesday. You'll get used to this.
And I love it too. Like, is another thing they did really well was show how. They only used Toad as the only example here, but it was I want to say not an uncommon thing in Vietnam was dudes that were doing everything they could to get the hell out of the war. And so after that whole thing about the Pharaoh's guy dying and whatnot, the guy's like, man, thank you so much. I was terrified, you're my buddy, and blah, blah, blah. Toad's like, I got to get the hell out of here. This isn't my war. I got to go home. So he hatches this plan. And all we know, of course, from the original movie and from the dialogue of the other stories within this film, is Toad's dead. He dies. MIA is what we know from the first film.
Yeah, missing in action. We're not too sure like what that means exactly.
Yeah. And after this battle that happened and stuff, they're having a little celebration, and he's saying like, screw these guys, so and so, my buddy died, and yet they're talking about what a great victory and this and that. And Toad brings him in a cake. And he's like, I was thinking maybe since it's New Year's Eve, you could relieve me of latrine duty. And the commander's like, you're on the latrine for the rest of your life. And he's like, okay, well, enjoy your cake, And he goes to the latrine, kind of ducks behind it. You don't see him, but all of a sudden you see that latrine go off, like explodes. And of course there's shit flying. And there's shit on the cake and all over them, and
it rains on all of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty hilarious. And then I didn't think that killed Toad. I thought he set that up, and him and the other guy did, and then they show him a little later in like civilian clothes, and the guy brings him some boots and some other crap, and he's like, "Yep, you can't come back, to America. You're a deserter." He's like, I've always wanted to see Europe, and it's hilarious.
He's very positive and optimistic about all this.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh, he doesn't give a crap. It's all about just getting the heck out of there. And I just find it hilarious because, like, he went to such trouble trying to get Debbie to be with him in the first film, and all of a sudden it's just like, Debbie who? Get me out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, so that was it. I mean, master plan, and it worked out for him,
Yeah, and he just goes walking off into the jungle, and for all they know, the military's like, he died in that accident there, and that's it.
Yeah,
we don't really have any record evidence or what happened, but he's gone.
And yeah, I love how in the movie though they still use that same ending that they did for the first film with, Terry Toad with MIA in Vietnam or whatever. Along with John being killed by a drunk driver, and then of course they had a different ending for Steve and Laurie, and Debbie had a new ending. I don't think they showed an ending for Debbie in the first film.
No, because they didn't show any of the girls in the first one. It was just the four guys, and then in this one they sort of add, because you had Debbie and you had Laurie, they get added in there too. Because then we go into, I guess, Laurie's story, and here's this girl trying to change it up from her kind of 50s ways to now being like in the 60s world of San Francisco. Yeah. And she lives in like this kind of commune house of a bunch of other hippies.
Oh, you talking about Debbie?
Debbie. Yeah. And, she lives with all those other hippies that don't seem to be doing anything, especially when her boyfriend goes into jail. They're like, hey, can we just round up some money? And they're like, what money, man?
Yeah.
Just sitting there like, so they're useless. Her boyfriend's useless, but we see that kind of initially. I mean, even Harrison Ford's the one who arrests him, for having a joint in his ear, and takes him into jail, and so on. And in this whole point, she's trying to do all she can to like further, in a sense, his career, because he's this struggling guitar player, musician, and whatnot. So she finds some random band out there that's playing, and meets all these colorful characters out there who just chatting away and playing music and having fun and crashing their VW bus into all kinds of trash cans along the way. Yeah, and anything else that's like not moving. They're always think about that stuff. Like they're doing the most non-hippie thing when you really think about it. Just like terrorizing, destroying, littering.
They're almost like punks.
Yeah, that's what they are. It's kind of that thing that's like that they have that peace and love thing, but like they're really not following any of that.
No, not and yeah, it was a I enjoyed that arc quite a bit. It was like I forgot what their name was. It was Electric something.
Yeah, it was like with like the Electric Haze.
Electric Haze. Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty hilarious. Just running over garbage cans, driving through parks, and doing all this crap. And I love that they go and play at this country western bar, like with some like rough dudes, like Roadhouse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like Roadhouse when it first starts off. You know, before Dalton has come to clean the place up.
And like how this like random guy's like, "Hey, you want to dance, Debbie?" And she's like, "No, not really." He's like, "Why not?"
He's like, "Yeah, well, I'm not good enough for you. What is the cowboy hat in?" Like,
and one of the members of the band comes in and he's like, "Hey, you know, we actually need her up on stage, you know." And he's like, "Your hair looks like shit," you know, because he's got long hair. And he's like, "Yeah, you know, I thought the same thing this morning. I looked in the mirror and I thought your hair looks like shit, but you got to have long hair these days to get anywhere." So
like, he just plays it off.
Pretty clever. And the guy's just like, and then hands him a beer, and the guy's just like, Don't
know how to take it.
But that was a pretty cool one. And
I want to say there's a scene with Debbie. I think this actually happens before this part, but there's a part where like they all get dressed up to go to a concert, but they're not going to pay for it. So they're literally like crossing rooftops in San Francisco to get there, which I thought was actually kind of cool shot wise. But it's just funny because they're all fully dressed up in like high heels and everything like that. I'm like, and you're going to walk across a ladder over what, like 15 stories above in high heels?
Yeah, I was like, what is going on? Like, how is this working here? But that was that was pretty hilarious. Yeah, and then of course, she's trying to get her boyfriend out of jail, right? And this happens before that too. And she's just trying to get everybody to give her money, and nobody has any money. So then she goes to her boss. That whole thing that we talked about with the snake and everything. And finally, she's like, "I'm out of here. I quit." And he's like, "Please don't," because of course, you know, the sleazeball is losing girls left and right. And she's like, "Okay, fine. Like, no snake. I'll give you your money. Blah blah blah." And whatever. Well, she bails him out of jail, her boyfriend, and on the condition that she believed he was going to talk about marriage with her, and because he said like, "Yeah, you bail me out of jail, we'll talk about it." Yeah. And he's just like, "No," like he doesn't want anything to do with it, and she's pretty pissed. And then finally, you know, like,
and he won't get a job. He won't get a job. That's the other big thing too.
Doesn't want a job. Doesn't want to get married. This dude just wants to be a hippie, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't, you know, I just don't understand the draw. I don't understand the lifestyle. I don't know.
The freeloading, the not wanting to do anything, like the.
It's just like being homeless, except for you're not addicted to meth. Maybe, I don't know, but
yeah, it's like it's generally what I always think of it. It's what rich kids do when they want to be homeless, because they always have really a fallback plan, but like they're just going to live off everybody else and make it feel like that. So they just don't, you know, I don't know. It's a weird, like a life experience type thing. Because I always assume that like with a lot of those guys like that, they're never like regular people that do that. They're always somebody who kind of, you know, had choices and so on. That
I think a lot of times the person that does nothing because they don't want to do nothing hasn't been faced with the consequences of
nothing,
of not doing anything when you should.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They lack discipline. That's the main thing. If you can break it down to anything, nobody ever taught them proper discipline in life, you know.
But yeah. So poor old Debbie, you know, she doesn't. Tries to all this time that this dude's just being a freaking scumbag. She's trying to get him a job, you know, gets him with Electric Haze, and it's like, you know, you need a guitarist, my boyfriend, you know, he's real great, you know, and like, yeah, maybe, you know, we'll talk about it. Well, of course, at the show at the country western bar, everything going on, she notices he's dancing with this girl, and she's pretty upset about it. and goes up to him, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Debbie, yeah," and then she punches him in the face, which is pretty great.
Yeah, and then it just starts a big old barroom brawl,
big old bar fight, and then of course she gets out of there with the band. And what's kind of great too, often in these kind of situations in movies, the guy that she was talking to, who was getting out of the situation with the other guy that wanted to dance with her and stuff, I think it would lead you to believe that they're going to end up together, but they don't. He's just nice, and then after that show, they get out of there. He cheers her up, says, "Come with the band, come on," and they just get in the van and start. The one guy, the black guy, he kind of looks like Jimi Hendrix or something.
Yeah, and he can't stop talking.
Talks, and and finally she's just like, "Okay, stop," and gives the cue to the driver, "Hey, whatever you do, don't hit those trash cans," which of course is what they were doing, earlier. He kept just saying it, like, "Hey, whatever you do, don't do this, don't do that," and of course he'd do all of it. And
yeah,
that's a fun little adventure there, and
yeah, and that kind of wraps up hers there, because hers is just, it's just a lot of times it's all the psychedelic, like, multi-camera stuff in there that makes that stand out. Because, like, when you sort of read the story off, it's like, well, it seems kind of simple and kind of to the point and everything like that. But then when you see the way that it's shot, like, everything about it's like, well, it's nothing like you've ever seen.
I will tell you too, Debbie's character seems a lot different in this movie than she did in the first one.
Yeah, her character has definitely changed the most out of everybody.
Yeah,
in fact, yeah, and I would say definitely. Because everybody else is kind of the same, Toad's just Toad in Vietnam. John, no matter what, John's still kind of John, and I think that's kind of how his character's supposed to be. Is he's a man out of time that hasn't changed, and really, that's kind of it. And then even though Laurie and Steve have gotten older and have a family and everything like that, they're still having issues and so on like that.
Yeah,
and Steve's still probably kicking himself for not going to college with Richard Dreyfuss.
That's a couple right there that they're going to argue for life.
Yeah, they're going to be like those ones where they'll be like, we've been married for 50 years, but we hate each other.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hilarious.
It's like, why did you get a divorce? Like, well, we couldn't have. That wasn't. How Steve is. He's old fashioned.
Yeah, and so as Laurie takes a hike and goes to see her brother, who's not Richard Dreyfuss. And
because apparently she had more brothers and so on like that. Well, I gotta say this too, like when they have that fight at the beginning of the movie or beginning of their section of the movie and whatnot, like, and she's just like breaking shit and like she got no remorse for any of this stuff, like, because they're arguing, the kids are in the other room and so on like that, and like it goes really like hardcore compared to like the other couple stories you've just seen of like, whoa, it's going to like a intense drama. And there's even a part where Steve's all like, you know what? Here, break the tea kettle and so that. She takes and smashes it, and she's like, oh, dude, your mother gave us that for the wedding. Like, what the hell? She's like, I don't care. And then the kid keeps walking in like, are you guys fighting? No. Mommy just broke something. That's it. We're going to clean it up. You sure? Yes, we are sure. Okay, I'm going to go watch TV.
Yeah.
6-year-old goes back out again,
Yep. No, that's definitely same thing too with Steve. Like, it's almost like he does the things too, knows she's gonna do it, and then gets mad about it. It's almost like, I need my excuse to yell. Yeah. And it just goes on. And finally, like, we talked about her taking a hike and going to see her brother, and then she goes to the demonstrations, the anti-war demonstrations and stuff, and he goes out looking for her after he like loses his mind. We don't know who's watching the kids. Mind you,
no, those kids just get left.
Like,
who comes
having some New Year's party, and
who comes to the door? Yeah, because that was the thing too. They're bitching about we're not gonna have the news. That's right.
They're not moving men. These guys that bring a big ice sculpture.
That's right. He gets this weird ice. Maybe the ice sculpture's watching him. I don't know.
And he goes trying to find her, and he eventually catches up with them. The police raid the college, and that's where you start seeing college students getting beaten and stuff. And
then the Laurie's brother is out there. He's going to burn his draft card. That's the big thing kind of going on right there. And then Laurie freaks out. She's like, "You can't do that. Like Uncle Sam gave you that."
Yeah, she's clearly a sympathizer for the war effort. And she's talking about like, what about Toad? Like, this is for people that died for Toad. And he's like, I know, Like, this is why I'm doing this. And so you got that same old story going on there that we've seen now for a few movies.
Yeah.
And then as the officers are chasing the protesters into this, I guess it's a college.
Yeah, I think it's at a school,
Laurie's brother whips out a fire hose and starts spraying them all away. That was pretty interesting. And then what's his name? Steve shows up and tries to get into the college, and the cops are like, "No way, bud!" And then he, I think flips out his
he flips out his insurance badge and stuff like that. Be like, you know what? There's some claims going to have to be filed here. Like, well, go on, sir.
Go on, kid. Yeah, exactly. And then he catches up to him, and him and Laurie, go back to each other like magnets, and like, I love you too. Oh my God. He's like, and you know what? I'm sorry, you can get a job. And she's like, oh really? He's like, yeah, a couple years from now.
Once the kids are, in college.
Like, you were just asking for it, man. So then they start fighting again, totally fine. And talking about, like, I want a divorce, and throwing her ring on the ground. And,
she just chucks her. She does a lot of stuff without thinking. Like, she literally has, like, logic is out of her mind completely. She just does things and then completely regrets it after she does it.
Oh yeah. And then what's his name? Steve, they both they're looking for her ring, and her brother and her brother's girlfriend are like, oh, we gotta get out of here, the mob's coming. And of course they get scooped up by police officers, except for Steve. Somehow he manages to escape. And
I like how Steve, there's a part where Steve does get, like, the police officers are throwing him against the wall and everything like that. He's like, I voted Republican, damn it. Yeah. I'm not here for the protest.
Yeah. And Laurie's on this bus with a bunch of females, female captives, and they start screaming, my baby love, my baby love. Start screaming that song. And then the female police officer's like, I'm not going to have any of this. You guys shut up. She goes up and slaps one of those girls real hard. That put that song down. And then, of course, Laurie, this is where Laurie kind of has the moment where she's like, I'm going to be the rebellious one now. I'm going to, I got like my first like midlife crisis thing going on right here. Yeah. So then she starts singing, and then they all start singing again. And then the police officer lady's just kind of like,
I can't slap them all.
Damn it.
Or could I?
Just puts the bus and leaves. And then, of course, Steve comes up. Oh, it's my wife in the bus. And the officer's like, I don't care if it's your pet monkey.
Yeah, I get paid by how many bodies I bring in.
Takes his billy club and smashes him in the gut. And then some crazy crap happens. I think another mob comes in and kind of there's I don't know what to say. It makes some kind of diversion or something, or does something
some
where
kind of ruckus happens.
Yeah, and Steve's able to hop in the bus and drives them all away, and then lets them all. And from
the man who directed Grand Theft Auto, here he is again stealing another car and driving off.
And he gets out and meets up again with what's his name, her brother and the girlfriend, and they're just walking and kind of like reminiscing on everything that just happened. And
that was
about it for them. But
yeah, and then I think Steve finally goes, you know what, Laurie, if you want to get a job, get a job.
Get a job.
What I mean, whatever, it's a new time period. Maybe I'll vote Democratic next time. Well, let's not push it too far.
Like I said, it would never take me going to those lengths to let my wife go to work.
Yeah, it is such a weird notion when you think about it. Well, the idea, this is how I always think, who is anyone else to tell anyone what they can and can't do? You know what I mean? That at the end of the day, that's sort of what it is. But I think you're looking at it as a perspective change of the times, because Steve's got good old 50s mentality, Modesto, farm boy instincts. It's just like, no way. Damn it, come hell or high water, I'm going to run this family, and you're going to stay home and take care of the damn little kids, because if I see one of them drowning in a fish tank.
I love it too. And I love how, I get it, man. Insurance is a good thing to have, I guess. But at the end of the day, my core belief about insurance is the fact that it's a big effing scam.
Yeah, that's pretty much literally what it is. There's some merits to certain ones, but for the most part, That's all it's there for. It's a fear monger tactic to get money out of people.
Yes, and I love it too, because every time you see a movie or a show or any portrayal of an insurance salesman or whatever, like it's like, oh yeah, I'm a working man, I make an honest dollar, and just like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You're not working your ass off. You're scamming your ass off, and
literally.
But it's always this noble thing, like I'm a family man, and especially man with Steve, it's very fitting. It's very fitting for his character that he's an insurance agent.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's that. What other jobs are you going to get at Modesto? Which also at the same time, I'm thinking about this. Okay, now he's an insurance salesman in Modesto. Now, is that protest taking place in Modesto? Or let's just say, does her brother live like in Sacramento or something like that? That would make more logical sense to me. Because I just have especially Modesto. I mean, not saying there probably wasn't a protest, but like a protest at the the junior college in Modesto.
I mean, I guess you could have gone to like San Francisco or Berkeley or it's not that far away. It's like,
or even even Sacramento, because it's only like an hour away. So
I was gonna say, I think it's about the same from. I think we were talking about it the last podcast, how centrally located Modesto is.
Yeah, you're pretty much like an hour away from everything.
Yeah,
or at least everything in the that kind of region. So that's what I was kind of wondering that whole time, because the movie never explains where they went or whatnot. Yeah. But she just went to her brother's. But I picture that being probably either in Sacramento, like as the capital, or you could say a Berkeley or a San Francisco, Oakland, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't explain where that exactly was.
No, it just says a college campus.
Yeah, because it's also one of those ones that doesn't really. We know they're in Modesto from the movie, but it doesn't even really say, Modesto, California, 1967.
Yeah. Oh, and then it ends with them watching the Times Square ball, drop, and.
That's right. Yeah.
And then shows.
And then you sort of see everybody sort of like finales. Like it kind of like cuts to each one. So, you see Steve and Laurie and, Laurie's brother and his girlfriend watching the ball drop on the TVs.
And they watch Debbie with the other guys in the band.
Yeah.
And Terry's walking alone wearing civvies, now AWOL after faking his death. And then John's
gonna go head-on collision and die. Yeah, such a happy ending.
I know, right? Poor John.
This is just what George is like. That's the way I want it. Don't you change anything. That's real.
Like I said, I just love how, that whole, the very end of the movie, after all the stories have been told, the end is like exactly the same as far as like the where it shows their picture and then the little text showing what happened to them. The two only differences are that they included two females in that now. But I just was kind of thinking like, are you that short on funds that you couldn't have like changed it up a little bit? Like it's like a cut and paste.
Yeah, just here it is. We'll just add some other in there. But yeah,
I like how Toad didn't die.
Yeah, I do like how he kind of got out of it. It makes you kind of wonder too, because I wonder if John's going to get out of it too. But nope, he doesn't get out of there. No,
someone's still got to die.
Someone's still got to die.
It is a Vietnam movie after all.
Yeah, so the guy's going to die as someone driving a hot rod in Modesto.
Yeah,
or leaving Fremont, technically, probably back to Modesto. Who knows?
But fun flick, I think, man. I like I said, despite. Once again, it's like this is not an uncommon thing, despite the reviews and the probably millions of people that are going to say the first one's a way better film. I like this film a little bit better. I did. I don't dislike the first film. You already know my thoughts. I thought it was a little bit boring at first, but then it picks up. And this film I just really appreciate for more reasons than one. We talked about it already. The way that it's filmed, the different camera styles,
film stocks, all that kind of stuff, the editing of it.
It's really creative, really creative work of art, and where maybe most people didn't consider it a masterpiece as they did the first one. I think they It's a good pairing. It's a really good pairing of the first and the second film, and I think they're complementary to each other, even more so the second to the first. But I think it's a really enjoyable watch, and there's always a hook that if you start to think like, I'm gonna start thinking about something else, it shifts into one of the other stories or whatever, and it gets you back.
Yeah, no. Well, that's the thing is, I feel like this one, it keeps you intrigued the whole way through. I feel like it doesn't do anything wrong to any of these characters. They all feel like literally who they are. It's not like it's going in some odd, ridiculous, different direction. And you're just seeing it like the decade sort of unfold through these really cool stylistic choices that, once again, it's like, can you think of another movie that really looks like this and plays out like this? Like, not a whole lot. I mean, there's ones that have similar stuff, but like, it's very interesting. And I think probably at the time period, it probably was too much for the average person. They probably watched this and like, oh, this is too radical. It's hard to keep up with this and everything. I think that's one of these movies that probably actually stands out more the older it gets than actually when it probably did first come out. And once again, I was expecting that probably everybody going into it was, once again, they're like, where's Wolfman Jack? Where's all this stuff? Where's the rock and roll? They were expecting literally.
Well, and Wolfman Jack is still kind of in the movie. You don't see the character himself.
Yeah. He's got voiceovers on the radio during the John scenes.
Yeah.
Because that's about the only time that you actually hear rock and roll, I think, is actually in the John stuff. Everything else is kind of 60s hippie music more for the rest of it.
Yeah.
So on like that. But it's still got a really strong soundtrack, too. Like, once again, wall-to-wall music, all kinds of cool tunes, the whole way through. So you get that. But I think that's probably is. I bet you there was just a lot of people that really liked American Graffiti. I could picture those kind of guys that like those real car guys and everything like that, and that love the living daylights out of like old school rock and roll and everything like that, and like would not be pretty much if you were like the Harrison Ford character.
Yeah.
Those are the guys going in there, and then they see some of this other stuff. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Cracking a beer open, just like, disappointed that the girl didn't want to dance with him.
Yeah.
There's some of those people, I think that's what they were looking for. But no, I think it's one of those ones. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. And it's one of those movies that kind of like, it just looks like some kind of secondary sequel that, like, whatever, if I didn't see it, I wouldn't be missing out on much. But I think it actually is a lot going on here that, once again, adds to the original one. And it's not the same thing, but it extends it, but like it works, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I was also impressed with the numbers as far as what it took to make the film, the budget, with what was all in the film. I mean, especially with that Vietnam stuff. I mean, it's not like that stuff's cheap. So
no, they got a bunch of good explosions and everything like that. There's great battle scenes and so on like that. No, for that $3 million went a long ways. For the fact that, too,
the racing?
Yeah, the racing, good drag strip racing and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, the budget seems extremely high, for what it is, and it's not that much. And yeah, granted, it didn't make like that gangbusters of like what the first movie made, but it still made like $15 million plus. So it, more than quadrupled like, what it was, give or take on what the advertising was and all that kind of stuff. So it still was somewhat of a hit. I mean, granted, You slap George Lucas's name up on it in '79, and people are gonna probably come to see anything at that point because after Star Wars, But then I also think the fact that they got pretty much everybody back in it, but Richard Dreyfuss, because at the time, think about it, like Harrison Ford, he's been in Star Wars, so now he's the established actor and so on like that.
And Indiana Jones too, right? Or Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Not yet, but that's coming around the corner. So this one's right before there. So. There's that. And then Ron Howard's on Happy Days right now. Laurie's on Laverne and Shirley. So you got all these people that are actually, they have a real giant career at the moment. They don't need to technically come back and do this movie. And yet here they all are, and they're making it happen, and it works. And it doesn't feel like a cash-in or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think the title's about the only thing that's kind of weak. I think it could have had a better title than More American Graffiti. That just sounds like that sounds like you wrote that down. Like, well, we need to do a sequel. We're going to do More American Graffiti.
That sounds it makes it sound like the B-sides of a movie or something.
Yeah, it's like, here's this bonus disc of outtakes and so on like that.
Yeah.
Because that's what it sounds like, a special features disc that would come with it. Like, it's the More American Graffiti. It's all the extra footage.
I feel like American Graffiti 2 would have been just as good, if not better.
Yeah, I hate to sort of say it like it would have been fine if a 2 on it and so on like that. I mean, it would have been like Grease 2 or something like that this time period. I also like, because I read something that like because George was going to make a sequel to it because he knew how successful it was. Oh, I better make a sequel or something to it. And then Francis Ford Coppola was like, no, dude, you don't make sequels. And it's like, dude, how can you be the guy to tell people not to make sequels? You made the biggest sequel of all time, Godfather 2. Like, if anybody knows anything about sequels, it's you.
Yeah. Exactly.
But, yeah, and then you're telling George not to make a sequel? The guy who's going to have Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all this stuff?
Like 1,000 sequels, yeah.
Yeah, the guy who makes sequels cool. Yeah, so I thought that was funny, just told him not to do that. Well, I think also, Francis Ford Coppola really wanted George to make Apocalypse Now. That was the thing, is he really wanted George to do that, and then George's like, no, I'm doing Star Wars. And he's like, dude, come on, dude, forget Star Wars. Apocalypse Now, that's what you want to do, and so on like that. And George, because for a moment there, George was going to direct it, but then he shifted to Star Wars, which would have been interesting to see what George...
he didn't. I mean, yeah, it'd be cool to see what he would have done, but I love Apocalypse Now the way it is, so...
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, Francis took care of that, and that's one of my favorite movies, so I don't care. It's like, it's so good, but I'm almost still curious, in an alternative world, what's that George Lucas version of Apocalypse Now?
Hey, maybe we'll get lucky and Disney will make a new one.
Yeah, all right. Going up on the boat and everything like that. It gets darker and weirder as it goes down. But yeah, American Graffiti, more American Graffiti, you know. Check that bad boy out. Take a look at this if you've never seen it before. I know a whole lot of people haven't seen it, so it's definitely...
I'm surprised there was never a third film like The Most American Graffiti.
Yeah, you know, well, you could have had it where Toad comes back, like he finally makes it back, and, you know, he has to sneak into the U.S. and so on like that. All incognito and so on.
That'd be funny. You know, it would be like... It's not like that was an impossible thing to come back home and be like, you all thought I was dead. I wasn't dead. I was captured.
Yeah, exactly. Be like, I escaped. Yeah.
But
they got me when I was in the latrine. You know, they blew it up. They were latrine bandits.
I like how like nobody investigated that either. Like at the camp, like nobody went over there. Like, oh my god, you know, they're just like, oh, that sucks.
You want some cake? Just swipe the shit off the top. It's still good.
But yeah, good time.
But yeah, beyond all that good stuff, you can always check out more movie reviews and all the fun things we do at Old Man Orange Podcast, along with the Silent Evil Podcast, talking survival horror video game, and of course via VHS, which does more of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s VHS era movies. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Dave Candido.
And we'll see you some other time.